Now, sometimes you hear people say, well, immigrants only do jobs, especially at the bottom end of the U.S. labor market, that Americans don't want. There are two fundamental problems. One is just the fact that the vast majority of any job you care to name in the United States, building, cleaning, and maintenance, meat and poultry processing, people who clean toilets for a living in hotel rooms, those jobs are either 50, 60, 70% done by native-born Americans. The other issue is if an employer is having trouble attracting Americans to a job, which obviously sometimes happens, what's the obvious solution? Pay more. So the idea that they're just jobs that Americans don't want really doesn't make any sense from an economic perspective. All you have to do is raise wages. Now, it's perfectly understandable that employers don't want to do that, but nonetheless, that's very different than saying this is a job, there's just no American who would ever do it. In general, we have moved to a model whereby either we use technology and we substitute capital for labor, or we import our goods made by unskilled labor. So the arrival of lots of unskilled immigrants begins to distort the U.S. economy. It might give us a larger low-wage sector, say in some forms of apparel manufacturing, but it isn't going to make us competitive with China or India, where labor costs will remain much lower. What it'll do is preserve some tiny fraction of it and burden taxpayers with the problem of having to support workers in that industry who need a lot of assistance. The three groups of workers that would tend to face the most job competition from illegal immigrants would be Americans who haven't graduated high school, those who have graduated high school but are young, under the age of 30, and have no additional schooling, and teenagers, say 16 to 19-year-olds. As the level of immigration has increased to the United States, the young and less educated have generally done worse. Real wages for high school dropouts over the last 3 decades are down about 22%. Real wages for those with only a high school degree are down about 10% in hourly terms. Teenagers, some of the same kinds of things have happened to them. The aggregate effect on all American workers is much less, but down there at the bottom, it could be very large, and it's on the most vulnerable.